Dr. Jacey Folkers is a doctor of chiropractic, a functional medicine practitioner, author, educator, and co-founder of Blokes and Joy, companies that specialize in peptide and hormone replacement therapy. He is a graduate. He's a graduate of the University of Nebraska at Lincoln with a degree in exercise science and sports medicine studies. He continues to stay abreast of the latest medical findings as he continues medical programs and has completed postgraduate studies in areas of clinical nutrition, rehabilitative exercise, and functional medicine. Dr. Folkers has owned and or operated several clinics across the country that emphasized and specialized in areas of treatment, including hormone replacement, peptide therapy, regenerative medicine, weight loss, cognitive therapies, thyroid conditions, autoimmunity, diabetes, functional testing, and DNA testing. He is passionate about functional medicine and with a background in sports medicine feels strongly not only about men's health, but women's health, as well as he has 6 daughters. You have 6 daughters?
Yes. 6 daughters, and now I have 2 grandsons and a granddaughter also.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have to firstly start by asking, you look incredible, by the way. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. So I'm 47. I'll be 48 in January. So,
mate, you look fresh.
Thank you. I try.
It must be your peptide stack,
it's all of it. Yeah. I try to be the, one of our poster child for what we do and practice what I preach. So I really am, passionate about this. I don't try to sound smart. I don't think I am smart. I just have so much passion for what I do and what I preach. So I obviously want to live and look the part.
Yeah. Well, you are a doctor, so you can say you're smart. I'm pretty sure we can all agree on that.
I mean, I just, there's so much into that. I think it's, there are doctors that kind of surprise me. A lot of patients that come to us come from other doctors, and it's just like the way I see a lot of patients care, the way they're managed. Our medical system, we do have smart doctors, you're right, but our medical system, I feel, is flawed in that we don't have so much of a preventative, proactive approach. It's more of a reactive approach to health. So that's kind of what we try to emphasize and focus on with what we do. So
yeah, it does. It seems to me as like an outsider that a lot of doctors are just good at prescribing. They're not good at fixing, lifestyle changes that could help the person in the long term. It's like, well, I know the drug for you. And it's like, well, essentially, they're not telling you to change your lifestyle, then they're just your drug dealer.
Yeah, you're right. So the way doctors are trained in medical school is this is your way of approaching patients. It's like order labs. Based on those labs, let's see what markers are off. Based on those, out of normal range markers or findings, here's the pill for that and for which you're complaining about. So it's more of like a symptom-based model. And then if the patient is overweight or it does have something, it's like, well, lose weight, and that's pretty much their recommendation, right? It doesn't. Right. There's not much about how to lose weight, how to eat, how to, the importance of sleep, the importance of exercise, how to exercise, and so yeah, I mean, you're right, and so it's all those things are the things that I think doctors should be learning and teaching, and the word doctor actually originates from the Latin term to teach, and I feel like doctors are not doing that. So yeah, and I think but the problem is with the system itself, it's broken. And if doctors do step out of that model and say, hey, come over here, Luke, let's talk about ways to to lose weight and to feel better and to exercise, oftentimes they'll be reprimanded because, hey, why did you do that? You should have just prescribed this, so it's kind of a broken model, unfortunately.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I want to talk about the kind of crisis of testosterone that we've seen, this huge drop in testosterone across the population over the last, since 1980. I just saw a study done this morning. I think it was 1% from 1980 every year to 2007. That's when all those studies were coming out, and then it's probably continued to drop. But have you noticed that in your clinics?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm so glad you brought that up. So let's start with just the lab markers. So if you were to look back, I want to say 2017, the range of testosterone was higher, like the normal range was higher than it is now.
Yeah.
And you're right. If you look back at the literature, the average male testosterone was around 500 to 600. Now, and then in the 80s, now in the 90s, it dropped down. The average man is around 400. Now, today, it's in the 300s. So it's been dropping steadily, about 100 every decade. So there,
Oh my
and
God.
so there's so many. I feel there's so many environmental factors that play into that. You're now in the United States, and like one thing is for example, herbicides like atrazine is legal to be in our water. In a lot of European countries and other countries, it is illegal to have. I mean, they don't allow atrazine. It's a commonly used herbicide that's not talked about that much, that ends up in a water supply and that kind of thing. This is something that has been known to introduce a lot of the bad estrogens in our body, which can over time start to lower testosterone. Plus, we can talk about the use of plastics, poor diet, increased adiposity, increased fat in a lot of Americans and that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a definite decline in testosterone, and it is a very important hormone to talk about, but it's definitely a problem that we see.
Yeah. Now, a person who
younger and younger guys.
Yes. So a person who comes to you with low testosterone, what are their usual complaints?
It's interesting. So it's kind of funny. Most guys come to us, there's a lot of apprehension for men to share like what's really going on. But I'll share with you the misunderstandings about testosterone, because a lot of us think it's just a sex hormone, libido, not having erections, muscles, right? But it does contribute to that and affect that. However, most common, symptoms people have is like, look, I'm having less energy. I'm having less motivation. I feel almost like depressed. My sleep has been affected. I'm gaining fat that I didn't used to have around my belly, around my midsection, like a muffin kind of a fat that just won't go away. I'm losing muscle. So a lot of it's the mental effects, lack of motivation, almost like a depression, lethargy, low energy. It's much more than just the libido and the erections and that kind of thing. However, I mean, it's funny because I see guys that come to us in that first consultation. Oftentimes, they're like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm coming to you guys because my buddy, told me about blokes, and I'm pretty good, and everything's works down below and that kind of thing." Well, then we order their labs, and we come back, a week later, go over the labs, like, "Hey, hey, Luke, your markers are, your levels 200," and then they're like, "Whoa, I guess that explains that. Oh yeah, that no wonder." So then they kind of open up like. And they're like, "Wait, when can we start this? Can we start this like now? Can I start today? I mean, what do you like an 8-hour drive? I can make it there if you." I mean, then they're like, "Let's go." Yes. And so it's pretty. So you see the transformation, and then fast forward to like a month after they start treatment, it's like a whole nother guy. I mean, it's like they're like, "Whoa!" Like the wife says, "Thank you." I say, "Thank you." It's like you see the transformation in all those things, the energy, the motivation. But it definitely is something that is not addressed and not talked about, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not just about sex and muscles and erections, and maybe the wife saying thank you too is also like the motivation, the joy of my husband is back, because he's now 100%. He's feeling better about himself. He's feeling better about himself. There's a thing about men that when they're doing well at work, they walk around the house with a bit of self-confidence when they're encouraged and they're like respected in what they do. And a kind of just a bit of that, just an ounce of that can go such a long way for a guy that a woman is even like, that their wife is even like, "Wow, I got my husband back."
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I really, I'm a married guy, and I feel like women want that, need that in their husband, in their boyfriend, and, someone that's like confident in themselves, and, just kind of getting after it, going after life. And versus, I mean, the thing is, it's like these guys, you have more and more these guys that are like in their like late 30s, 40s, in their parents' basement, still playing video games. And, these guys, their testosterone is like non-existent, and it's becoming the norm, unfortunately. I see lower and lower levels of testosterone in younger men in their 20s. And so, yeah, it's a problem, but it definitely permeates into the whole family. You become a better husband, father, partner, when it's more optimized. And we always see that.
Yeah, got it. And testosterone is important for women too. Do you
Yes.
ever prescribe testosterone for
All the
women?
time. All the time. Yeah,
Mm.
I like to kind of like refer testosterone. It's not just a male hormone. It's
Hmm.
a human hormone. In fact, one thing I'll share with you is oftentimes this isn't understood or known is women make more testosterone than they do estrogen and progesterone. If you were to
Mm.
look at compare the three, they actually make more testosterone. And so yes, we prescribe it for women. Same things. It helps with motivation, helps with reduces inflammation, helps with libido, helps with mood. And so we test women, and oftentimes their levels are low. We put them on a much lower dose versus men, but it is an important hormone for all of us. And why is it the reason testosterone is so important? We have a lot of hormones in our body. There's thyroid hormone, there's cortisol, there's insulin, there's different, all these different hormones that go throughout our system, and most hormones will attach to the cell receptor and kind of tell that cell what to do. Testosterone is one of those hormones that goes into the cell and even goes into the cell nucleus and literally influences your genetic expression. It influences your DNA. So it's a very important hormone in our body to have, more optimized for sure.
Yeah. Now, what's the most common complaint that female patients come with? What do you see more and more of? Is it this and helping with testosterone, or what is it? Progesterone, estrogen?
Yeah. So with women, they're obviously a little more complex. They have depending on where they are in their life, if they're
Hmm.
still in the reproductive years, if they're premenopausal, postmenopausal, these things all change, and so their complaints do kind of also change according to where they are.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a lot of times it is similar to what the men have. It's like they're low energy. They have PMS symptoms. With regarding to they could be estrogen dominant. There's a lot of women with PCOS, which is kind of a cascade that's driven by things like insulin resistance, inflammation, and those things will affect things like estrogen, testosterone, progesterone,
Hmm.
all those things. And so, but yeah, so the moodiness will be a common complaint, irritability, inability to get good quality sleep. And when we start women, on testosterone, that's one of the first things they notice is, wow, I'm sleeping so much better. My libido is better. I feel more focused because like the effects on the brain. Um, some women need progesterone because progesterone is oftentimes much lower versus their estrogen. So we put them on progesterone. They sleep better.
Mm.
It's just it's a great hormone for some of these women that have PCOS. And so yeah, it's kind of a little more nuancy approach for women, but it's these hormones definitely impact them in a positive way when you get them dialed in appropriately.
Yeah. And do you ever prescribe progesterone for men?
So, we don't do it that often, but I know some practitioners do seem to find that progesterone for some men helps with sleep and,
Mm.
and things like that. We have it's more of the exception than the rule. It's just that every person is different. Every body is different, but I have seen some people have success with low dose progesterone for men. It's a hormone that men do need, just like men need estrogen, which is kind of demonized for some reason in men. And in fact, there's a study that has shown an association with men with too low of estrogen, for example, actually have an increased risk of dying from any cause. It's like a 317% increase of dying if their estrogen is too low. So there's kind of a
Wow.
sweet spot for estrogen. There's a sweet spot for progesterone. What typically happens is your body, once you get your testosterone optimized, it will start to kind of spill over and help normalize these other hormones for men. So the first thing is like get them on testosterone. How are they feeling? How are they functioning? You may not even need to supplement with anything else.
Now, I saw that Ben Greenfield was supplementing with, he was injecting progesterone, and I think he was doing it for his sleep, which I thought, well, after you have sex and after, as a man, you ejaculate, you would lose, your testosterone would go down and your progesterone would go up. Why? Which is why it's such a good idea to have sex before bed so that you go right to sleep. Am I guessing here? Is that what actually happens?
What kind of happens? What kind of happens is, you're right. So it's like when men ejaculate and have orgasm, there's a shift that happens in both the nervous system. You have this parasympathetic, sympathetic response, but also what happens is prolactin is something that goes up that kind of like shuts down your ability to go back at it right again. But you kind of like so it's more prolactin is what. But yeah, when you like my wife takes, for example, she takes progesterone at night. And man, she says it helps her sleep so much better when she takes that. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely it's just kind of like part of it's a relaxing hormone. So I see his logic to taking it at night, because it definitely will help just with sleep for those that are deficient in it.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about weight loss now, because what Blokes Enjoy does a lot of is weight loss. People who've complained about trying everything else, and they come to you guys and are like, what should I do? I mean, well, walk me through actually how you do it. You guys have a meeting and take blood work and and do that, and then you take their results and decide what would be best for them. Let's just say somebody is struggling with obesity, they're struggling with their weight. How would you approach that?
Yeah, so we try to make it easy and convenient. So we do have, we're virtual like this. So we would basically have an appointment with the patient, order some labs. We have a metabolic panel that can look at certain markers, lipid panel, A1C, blood sugar, fasting blood sugar, those kind of things. And especially we will also take their BMI, their height, their weight, and that kind of calculate their BMI. So a lot of people, these days it seems like that struggle with weight loss, have tried everything, have tried different, weight loss programs, medications, exercise, they spend all this money and they just feel like they just keep gaining it back, or just they can't lose the weight. One of our most popular peptides products is a GLP-1 agonist called semaglutide. And it's very effective because, like I said, I mean, for the last 50, 60 years, a lot of the diets and exercise programs just have not been successful, have not been sustainable. And what's cool about the semaglutide is it mimics what your body does when you eat, which is you eat a meal and you feel satiated, and you're like, not everybody has that feeling, but like naturally that's how our body's supposed to function. So when you use this semaglutide, it helps by helping you feel full. And it also helps curb cravings mentally, so you don't crave like the sugars, the bad foods, and you actually will see changes on the scale, changes in the way your clothes fit. You'll see the inches and things drop because you are essentially kind of getting into this caloric restrictive state, which is so hard for people to get into, because what this peptide is doing is mimicking what your body naturally does when you just had a meal, which is it increases something called GLP-1. Once again, that helps with satiety, helps curb craving. So what it almost does is it takes the willpower out of it. So you're like, wow, I actually don't feel like I'm craving the chips and the donuts and the stuff that I normally do, and you just don't eat those things. You're eating a meal and you're like, wow, I'm good. You put the fork down, and so it really helps, and people feel. What I like about it, they feel success, so they feel like they're winning, and so they're more prone to take on the exercise programs and things like that, the lifestyle factors that really do make the difference. And so that's one of our most successful weight loss products. I mean, it works very, very well. It doesn't. It's not like a stimulant. It's not going to make you jittery. It's not going to make your heart race, 100 beats a minute. It's like I said, it helps with satiety, and it also helps control and improve blood sugar significantly. So we see people that are pre-diabetic and even diabetic. We put them on semaglutide, and their blood markers do improve. We see a improvement in A1C and fasting glucose and those kind of things. So they actually are improving their metabolism.
Incredible. So is it a syringe? Like, are you having to shoot it, or can it be a
Yeah, so
tablet too?
it actually comes in different different methodology. You know, you can get it in a like oral troche. You can get it in an oral form. What I found is the most efficacious delivery method is the injection, which is a little tiny subcutaneous insulin syringe that you inject once a week. So
Yeah.
it's very
Nice.
non-invasive, very simple. I mean, we have like no patients really seem to like have an issue with it. But once you've done that, once you've given yourself a shot one time, it's like, oh, this is easy. So that's
Yeah.
all it really takes.
Yeah. And for those listening who are thinking, oh, I'm scared of needles, I don't like them, you're probably thinking of like immunizations where you cop it in the muscle. This is subcutaneous, which means it's between the skin and the muscle. So you just take a little bit of fat, press it in there, and it is painless and like very, very slight like sting. I was horrified about it at first, and then
Yeah,
easy peasy, easy peasy.
yeah.
And
I mean,
that's
one of my daughters is a type 1 diabetic. So, you know, from a young age, I've seen a little girl giving herself shots, you know, repeatedly throughout the day, every time she eats and that kind of thing. So to me, it's like, man, if a little young 8-year-old girl can do this, 7-year-old girl, it's like, it's not a big deal. It's just, it's in your own mind. Like you're like, oh, like you said, you're used to seeing them going to the doctor and have a big needle go into your muscle and having it hurt and ache for, you know, for days. It doesn't hurt at all. Very non-invasive, very easy. And the best thing is it actually works. This product works very well.
Yeah, great. And then when you see people lose weight from this product, and then what else changes as far as their biomarkers are concerned?
So, you know, the thing is at the end of the day, the biggest driver of a lot of chronic conditions is inflammation, insulin resistance, and kind of what that cascade does to the body. You know, it causes hormone imbalances. It causes like I said, inflammation, and that can lead to other chronic disease processes. So when we start people on these products that help them lose weight, like I said, this particular product being a GLP-1 agonist, it actually helps improve blood sugar levels, so you become more insulin sensitive. So your body's more efficient at using energy substrates, and so we've seen improvement in lipid panels, in cholesterol markers, in A1C, in inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein. So we see literally improvements in a lot of these markers that would be associated with chronic disease. So it's like you're either moving towards disease or towards health. I mean, this product, because it's helping improve or actually decrease the amount of calories you're eating, because most of us just eat too much, right? And so it's really helping that, and also implement better lifestyle habits. So we see these things on blood markers. So it's super. Not only that, we see it on the person physically. They're
Great.
They're like, man, my clothes fit better. In fact, I'm throwing out like half my closet because it doesn't fit. They're seeing changes on the scale. They're seeing their face. I had one patient, she lost close to 100 pounds, and she literally looked like a completely different person. It was like shocking. So it really changes these people's lives in more ways than just the markers on the blood lab.
Yeah, and then of course it totally would. And then I've often thought that there was a correlation between visceral fat and hormones and testosterone, for instance. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yes. Great point. So men and women, so especially men, for example, there's four, I guess I like to categorize as four potential killers of testosterone. One is insulin and estrogen. Well, two, insulin and estrogen. Having visceral fat, having that belly fat specifically, increases something called aromatization. So when you have testosterone, when your body's making testosterone, it's having that extra fat actually will convert your testosterone to estrogen. Okay, so and also having that extra fat, it itself, because it becomes like an endocrine organ. It's secreting more of the inflammatory kind of markers, and it's causing more insulin resistance. So that having that extra fat will usually drive up insulin, drive up estrogen, which affects testosterone negatively. And also having an extra fat drives up inflammation. So guess what? Your body will start to secrete more cortisol. So it creates like a whole cascade. And so that's why building muscle, doing things to burn fat is really at the end of the day, what you really want to focus on doing. And having optimal testosterone helps with all that.
So just back to that, a large amount of fat increases cortisol. So you can be a stressed, like being obese can make you more stressed out.
Yeah. So think of fat as, and it's kind of an endocrine organ. It tends to secrete and drive up inflammation. People that are obese tend to have just more chronic inflammation. One of our body's most powerful anti-inflammatory that we release is cortisol. Does that make sense? So our secretion of cortisol is trying to kind of put out that inflammatory cascade that's happening. It creates this whole, because guess what? Cortisol drives up blood sugar. Blood sugar drives up insulin. And so you have this, like, just by having that fat, you have this like just bad kind of dance of poor hormone imbalances that continue to occur. So what do? Whatever you can to build muscle and burn fat. I mean, that's really, to try to simplify it, that's really, you got to just start moving.
Yeah.
And eating
got
less.
It. Yeah. I was recently at the biohacking conference, and I was listening to somebody tell me about they've been doing NAD drips, and they were doing them with Dave Asprey, and apparently his ability to take in an NAD drip is like second to none. He can take a gram like that, not feel nauseous at all. So let's talk about NAD because yes, well, he's an impressive specimen. Yeah. He just loves this stuff, I want to talk about NAD. What is it? And why should a person be taking it?
To simplify it, because you can spend a whole hour talking about it. There are scientists, hundreds of scientists that spend their entire career studying this stuff, but NAD, to simplify it, so it's a substrate that is very much a part of our body's ability to make ATP. It's in the mitochondria where our cells are making energy. NAD is something that's part of that. As we age, it starts to decline. So they found let's supplement patients with things like NAD in a IV form. You can also inject it, which is what we will send to patients, so they can use a subcutaneous injection or IM injection of NAD, and you do feel it. Like you can, I'll do 200 milligrams of NAD, and I kind of feel like this kind of almost like a rush of energy. That kind of comes over, and I just feel like throughout that day more focused. My workouts are better. So you're putting back in your body that compound that plays an important role in your body's ability to make energy, which is happening in all of our cells. So some cells that are important for this, of course, are like your heart. Your heart, the cells of your heart have a lot of mitochondria, brain, of course, muscle. Every cell in the body. So people that are starting to really feel the effects of lower NAD, older folks, they're like, man, my energy is just not there. My focus isn't there. My immune system just doesn't seem like it used to be. So they supplement with this stuff, and it can really enhance all of those areas.
Got it. So what are you doing, Dr. Jacey? What are you using? Are you on NAD? Are you taking testosterone? What do you do?
So I kind of, like I said, I practice what I preach. So I kind of test out everything that we offer. So I love NAD. I probably give myself at least a subcutaneous shot of NAD twice a week. I am on TRT. I actually just started TRT personally about a year ago. I tried to go the natural route as long as I could, and I've had a lot of injuries throughout the years, and so one of my favorite peptides that I like to talk about is BPC-157, which we haven't even mentioned. Which we can.
Yeah, I wanted to get to that eventually, but we can go right now. Let's go.
Okay, so I've had injuries. I've done a lot of weird, crazy stuff. Played sports all my life, had a crazy neck injury about, I want to say, gosh, time's flying. So like 6 years ago, herniated 3 discs in my neck, and I was like complete atrophy of like my whole right shoulder, arm, the whole thing. And you know what, like you know what dips are, right? Dip exercises. Yeah. So I couldn't do one dip. Like my arm just wouldn't even work. And, I could hardly do like a few push-ups. So when I go to the gym, I'm like, man, I was getting depressed because I'm like, I didn't know if I could ever regain the strength back. Mm-hmm. But I used the dips exercise as a way just to kind of like test where I was. And as like the muscle started to kind of build back, this is where I started learning about BPC 157. I came across it. I got a hold of some. I would inject it into my shoulder and even in my neck, and little by little, my body just started to heal. I was utilizing things like blood flow restrictive training. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I was doing everything I could. Any biohack out there, I was doing it. Cutting out anything inflammatory. Long story short, I was doing, the next thing I know, I'm doing 10 dips, 20 dips, 40 dips, 50. I was able to do over 100 dips, one set, 120. And then my brother, actually my nephew, got the Guinness Book of World Records book for like Christmas a few years ago. And he's like, hey, uncle, I think you could, I don't know. We just kind of happened to look up. So long story short, then I actually broke the world record for dips a couple times now with a 60-pound backpack. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I went from doing 0 dips to like the world record in a few years. So, but yeah, that's my BPC story. It's my favorite peptide because not only can it help repair busted up dudes like me, it's also great for digestion. Mm-hmm. In fact, it stands for body protective compound. It's derived from gastric juices. So it's like just a powerful healing signaling compound that just kind of goes to parts of the body to heal. And it's very unfortunate. There's not a lot of like human studies that you can point to, but it's just, I mean, anecdotally, it is amazing. It's like, I think anyone that has an injury, I'm like, BPC, yes. Anyone that's struggling with digestive issues, BPC. I mean, this is what I practiced for years, was functional medicine. All these people coming in with leaky gut, digestive problems. It is like, wow. We've had patients get off of proton pump inhibitors, all these from this product, and it's just like, man, it's one of my favorite ones. So that's why I kind of want to share that story. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, anecdotally from many people, I have heard that BPC 157 is incredible, and then to hear that you went from 0 dips to the Guinness Book of World Records, yeah. Of dips, it's amazing. It's known as the Wolverine peptide, right?
Exactly, that's what we call it, the Wolverine peptide, because you just you literally heal. I mean, I have my daughter who's she has a boyfriend who plays football, broke his arm just a couple weeks ago in a football game. Like his humerus just like broke in half. And he had to have surgery, and I'm like, young man, take these pills. And he's like, what is it going to do? I go, just let's go, let's take him. And because I wanted him to heal, and it's just, yeah. I mean, it's. I'm excited to see what it does. And like, I have a nephew, he sprained his ankle playing soccer, and yeah, he's out playing soccer again. It's like, this has been around for a while. A lot of the strong men competitors have been using it for like decades. It's just one of those kind of like kept secret kind of things, but I love it. It's just because it works, and I've used it personally. So like NAD, BPC, I kind of use it as needed now. Of course, testosterone. And what else do I use? I mean, I've tried everything. I've tried PT 141. There's some funny stories about that, but
I'm not familiar with that. What is that?
No. So PT 141 is kind of it's a peptide that really it helps with libido. Like, it really enhances libido. And it works differently than like Cialis or Viagra or anything like that. Because what it does, it kind of helps more in the brain. And the funny story about it is, the guy. Are you familiar with melanotan?
No.
So there's a peptide called melanotan. So melanotan was developed to kind of improve your body's ability to tan. You inject it, you basically get tan. Okay, you get dark. And so individuals that are like fair skinned, in European countries or even Australia, where you're in the sun, you take this stuff kind of as to protect you from damage from the sun.
Wow.
So it tans your skin. So yeah, so it actually tans your skin. So I can't remember his name, but the scientist that was developing this compound was kind of like messing around with it, and he gave himself like a double dose of what is now known as PT-141. And he was like, it made him sit nauseous. But what it also did is it gave him an erection that lasted like 12 hours or something. So he's like puking his guts out, and his wife's like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, but check this out." I mean, it just would not. Yeah, I mean, he just had like a persistent erection.
Wow.
And he was just super horny, right? But and so that now they use it for men and women to really help with libido. I had my wife try it one time, and it made her nauseous. Some people it makes them very nauseous and very flush. She had that reaction to it, and I can't get her to try it again, unfortunately. But yeah, it's one of those things where it definitely works with libido, and it seems like the cool thing, it lasts for like a few days. You're kind of just like ready to go, So
wow.
Try that.
That's cool.
It's a fun one. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds perfect for, if you don't mind me saying, it's perfect for what the problem with, female libido is. Often it's a brain state that getting into it is a brain state, whereas for men, it's so physical. It's like, touch my shoulders and I'm ready to rock. And women are like, we got to warm up and get into this. Sounds like it's something that would be fantastic for females.
It really is. It comes in an injection form. It comes in a nasal spray as well. So a lot of patients, are buying it for for those weekend getaways, and then they're like, man, this stuff's great. And so it really, to your point, there's a lot of women that the testosterone helps, but also the PT-141 really does help with that psychological piece.
I want to talk about that melatonin. Was it melatonin? What was it?
Melanotan.
And are people buying this still?
Yeah, I mean it's some people just they're really fair skinned people, they find they take it, all of a sudden they get tan, and it's like, man, I've been trying to get tan my whole life, and it's just some of these people but it definitely does help. I guess it secretes that melanin, and where your body just gets a little bit darker, and a lot of people really like it because it's just they look a little bit better with a little more color and that kind of a thing. But it definitely does work. However, some people, like if they have like freckles and stuff like that, those pop out more too. So it's just kind of trial and error thing. So
yeah, you got to be cautious. So that's something that you actually prescribe? I've never heard that this is a thing.
Yeah, it's available. The compounding pharmacies carry it. It's kind of seems to be more popular in like the physique and figure and bodybuilders, so they can take it, so they don't, and that kind of thing. So they have like that nice tan, kind of whenever they want. But everyone's different. Everybody kind of responds to it differently, and kind of gets the more you take, it seems like the darker that you can become. I've heard stories of like, some gal like in like the East Coast, like where it's like really overcast. She's got like addicted to it, where she's trying to get as dark as possible, and she like looks like a completely different
ethnicity. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that time is coming. There are actually people already out there who are trans ethnic, I guess you would say, transracial. They actually want to be another race, and so there's and who identify as a different race. We're living in funny times right now, where that is something that people are going to have to. That's happening right now. So there's going to be some orders for that, I imagine.
No, I mean, obviously people are going to want to get darker. So there's that. And then, like we have, I just recently heard that they're trying to introduce a bill, because testosterone, for example, is a controlled substance, and they're trying to pass something where like women that want to, identify as male and get, have that gender transition occurrence, they want to make it more available to these individuals to take testosterone, and it makes sense, because I mean there really isn't a lot of need for it to be in my opinion, to be a controlled substance. It's way safer than people understand. But yeah, it seems like they're starting to like make a movement towards loosening that and making it more available.
Okay, cool. So like if we wanted to have an appraisal by you, a health appraisal, what would the best way to go about that? Females would go to Joy, what is it? Get Joy What is it?
Yeah, so it's our yeah, I know, our URL is like it's actually choose joy, spelled
Choose Joy.
JOI dot co.
Yep.
Everybody, and then that's for the gals, and then for the men, it's blokes dot co,
Yeah.
blokes.co.
Sweet. And
So
they
that's
can go
so
there
you
and
go
yeah.
there. Yeah, easy. Get make a schedule consultation. We can order some labs, and we have a couple options for that. We can send you to a local lab corp, or we can even ship out soon. We're almost got this solidified where we can ship out a test kit to your house wherever you live and make it.
Amazing.
Some people don't like to mess with. It's a really slick, easy test kit. You just stick it to your arm and it collects blood in a little vial. But some people, don't even want to mess with that. So you can just go to LabCorp and have a trained phlebotomist, just draw your blood. So we make it easy as possible, and all done from your smartphone, from your computer, from your home, from your car, wherever you want to, from work, wherever you want to do it from. So.
Got it. I'll link to these. I'll link to blokes.co and choosejoy.co. They will both be in
awesome.
In the show notes. Is there another way that we can keep in contact with you personally? Are you on Instagram or something?
Yeah, it's Doctor. It's just DRJACEY, Dr. Jacey on Instagram. You can always message me there. That's probably the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
And I try to respond as much as possible.
Mate, it's been a better conversation than I thought it was going to be. I learned so much, but I'm also so excited about some of these things. For instance, I got my mother-in-law coming into town who is pre-diabetic. She's got high cholesterol, and she has always wanted to she's always been looking to lose weight. She just struggles with consistency.
Yes.
She she emotionally eats, and she can go and get under a lot of stress. I think I would love to try something with Choose Joy and figure out a way that we can actually help her and actually create some lasting, consistent change.
Yeah, semaglutide, it would be amazing for someone like her. I have a soft spot. Obviously, I have a mom who's in her 70s, and I look at her, and she's had both knees replaced. She's not moving around like she should. I'm like, it's like women like my mom's age, like your mother-in-law's age. I want to prevent them from ending up in the nursing home, breaking a hip, and that's where these things come into play. Is getting them where they can continue to exercise, be active, eat more protein, and focus on building that muscle. And it's these older population that needs that more than us. It's maintaining muscle mass, it's staying strong.
Yeah.
And and like you said, keeping the blood sugar under control, the A1C. Once you start to move towards that pre-diabetic state, the good thing is you can reverse that. It's just like starting to do something about it. And we have tools now like these peptides that can really help move the needle and get you to where making those lifestyle habits like easier. It's really these people once they've tried everything to lose weight, and they're like, they give up. Like, well, I guess this is just the cards I'm dealt, right? It's not. That's not the case. So.
Yeah, technology is winning. Like, we're moving towards a time in the world where, like, if you don't have to suffer as much as you thought you do, like it's a lot of these symptoms are reversible.
100%.
Mate, it's been sensational talking to you, Dr. Jacey, and I hope to do it again at some point soon. Yeah,
anytime, man. This was a great conversation. I enjoyed it. I'm sorry we got kind of a hiccup in the connection, but I so appreciate your time, and thanks for having me.
Legend. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, bud.